All right, well, I guess we can start now. Thank you all for coming to this open forum in a different location. It seems like most of you that have attended the ones before have found the new location as well. This open forum for a candidate for Vice President for Finance and Administration is the final one. We have 4 candidates, and after the presentation from our candidate today, well, as before, open up for questions. The microphone situation is such that go ahead and come to the center microphone and speak clearly, and we'll hope that that microphone will pick it up for the recording as well. But you need to get close to that microphone because although we all can hear you in the room for the recording purposes, it doesn't work if you simply yell loudly from your chair. I don't think that they're saying they can't hear me. Can you hear this? Yeah. Okay. Today I'd like to introduce Cleve Mcdaniel. Dr. McDaniel has held leadership positions at Lincoln University, Northeastern Illinois University, and the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. Dr. McDaniel is currently the Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer at the Desert Research Institute in Reno, Nevada, and has been in that position for the past 6 years. Dr. Smith received his doctorate in higher education administration from the University of Missouri at Columbia. He's also the president of DRI Research Parks Limited and a founding partner of the Educational Consulting Foundation. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Cleve Mcdaniel to our campus.
We have to do the ceremonial switch now, so give me just a second here. And can everyone hear me okay? And I hope it's recording as well. You just took half my presentation. Seriously, I am going to repeat a little bit of what I do now and where I've been because I will go a little deeper into some of that with you. I was asked to prepare and provide this overview, and then there should be ample time for your questions following my, my brief presentation. But I'm going to use my portion to really cover 3 areas. Again, more in depth, going into a brief summary of what I do currently, my current position, reasons for my interest in this position here at the University of Idaho as Vice President, and then what I would bring to the position and to the university if I were offered the position and accepted it. And following that, I'll do my best to answer any questions you might have. So again, I'm currently Senior Vice President for Finance Administration and Chief Operating Officer of the Desert Research Institute. We refer to it as DRI. That's actually what we're trying to do for our branding now. It's called DRI. And DRI is an internationally recognized environmental research organization that's part of the Nevada system of higher education. It's a standalone campus with its own administrative structure. It's one of 8 campuses within the Nevada system. And with 3 major research divisions and 4 integrated science centers deployed across 2 major campuses, one in Reno and one in Las Vegas, and with 3 satellite research laboratories in 2 states, the research infrastructure of DRI is highly decentralized and complex. We have about 550 people total. Out of that, we have hundreds of research scientists who do research all over the world on all continents, including Antarctica. This is reflected in the fact that according to the National Science Foundation, DRI is consistently among the top 20 federally funded environmental research organizations in the country. We do not offer academic programs, although we have about 50 or 60 graduate students who work there, but they go to either typically University of Nevada, Reno in the north and University of Nevada, Las Vegas in the south. In my role, I'm on the President's Cabinet. I work closely with the DRI Foundation, and I serve as an ex officio member of the Foundation Executive Committee. I've also served on several advisory committees for the Nevada system of higher education. At DRI itself, I'm responsible for facilities planning and operations, financial services, human resources, information technology services, and the Institutional Bylaws and Guidance Committee, which is the campus committee responsible for all of campus bylaws, policies, and procedures. I'm also president, as you mentioned, of DRI Research Parks Limited. That's a nonprofit corporation responsible for a research park of over 300 acres adjacent to DRI. And as president there, I report to and serve as a chief executive officer for a research park board of trustees. Now, that's a lay board, and it consists primarily of regional business and higher education leaders. We have a president from one of our sister institutions and a vice president for research from the University of Nevada, Reno, who serve on that board. So that's what I do now. I'm in excellent standing at my campus. I could stay there indefinitely. So with that, why then, you ask, would I be interested in moving and leaving and coming to University of Idaho? In general, I'm interested in moving to, not moving away from. I love what I do at DRI. I appreciate what it does for the planet, its environmental mission. I really like the people, and I work well with the president and my fellow officers. But there are some things that do interest me here. I would like to be back on a university campus. We have 2 research campuses, but they don't have the full amenities and full functions of a university. Most importantly, I mentioned we have 50 or 60 graduate students, but we do not have the student body, which I miss. I enjoy working with students. I enjoy having that as a part of the campus. Specifically to this position, I like the size of your campus. You're big enough. I know you do want to grow your student body somewhat, but you're never going to be a megalopolis like UCLA, for example, and I wouldn't really want that for multiple reasons. But yet, on the other hand, you're a land-grant institution, a state land-grant institution. I come from land-grant institutions. I graduated from the University of Missouri with my doctorate at a land-grant university, so I have interest in that mission. You're also the flagship state university and flagship state research university. I like your range of academic programs. I like the fact you have those that do reflect the land-grant mission, such as agriculture and life sciences, but a broad panoply of programs. I think it's a good mix. You have a strong and growing research mission, and coming from a research organization, that has great appeal to me. I think I can make contributions with my background there. You're also a college town with the related quality of life a college town offers. You're not too big, you're not too small, you seem to have the amenities in the region. I will simply say that Reno, Nevada is not known for being a college town. That's not its primary knowledge. Nor is Las Vegas, where I spend a lot of time since we have a campus there. And I like a quality atmosphere that a college town provides. Also, the natural beauty of the campus and region. I'm noticing that more as I come in. Some said that when you cross the Washington border in Idaho that the sun starts shining automatically. And I didn't see that. It was shining all day. Maybe if I was driving back the other way, the sun would come out. But basically, it's a beautiful natural region. And even on your campus, you have some unique features, such as your botanical gardens right here on the campus. I find that really amazing and fascinating. But most importantly, for me to make a decision to move, it must be a mutually good fit. It's got to be a good fit for you, and I'm hoping when I go through some of my skill sets, you'll get a sense that I perhaps could be. It's also got to be a good fit for me. I've shared why I think it would be a good fit for me. Now let me share with what I think I'd bring to the position and to the university. First of all, my experience as a senior business officer. I have over 15 years as a senior officer in higher education. And as mentioned, prior to my current positions at DRI, I've been a vice chancellor or vice president for administrative affairs or administration finance, whatever you call it, the chief business officer and administrative officer at 3 other universities. Very different universities with very different missions, I might add, including Lincoln University, which is an historically black university, and all very enriching experiences for me. Also, my first position in higher education was as Senior Associate for Policy Studies and Data Services with the Missouri Coordinating Board for Higher Education. That is the governing body, the regulatory body for all of Missouri State higher education, public and private proprietary schools involved, and the 2 and 4 years. So I bring that background. As you mentioned, I'm also a founding partner of the Educational Consulting Foundation. That is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing support and expertise to colleges and universities in strategic planning in general and budgeting, IT strategic planning, organizational redesign, restructuring. So I bring that skill set. And in total, I've overseen all of the typical financial, business, and administrative functions of a chief business officer. So I feel like I would certainly fit in well here and bring a good skill set to help move the university, continue to move it forward. Another thing I bring to the position is a strong customer service orientation. By that, I mean I focus on seeing the finance and administration operations as a major support area for the primary mission of the university, academic, student support, research support. We're not the drivers of the institution, we support the mission of the institution. And so with that perspective, I see faculty, staff, and students as customers and clients who deserve the highest and best quality service. Now, from all I've heard, you are already focused on customer service and you do a very good job. I would want to continue that and perhaps even enhance that, though, at this campus. Another skill set I bring is organizational quality improvement. Within the organizations for which I've served and as a consultant, I've utilized best practices to both build and develop new organizational structures and dramatically improve those for which I was or am responsible. I've designed and implemented major change processes that include project evaluation, process reengineering, organizational redesign initiatives, and institutional reallocation activities at multiple campuses. And also as a consultant, I've led major organizational design and restructuring efforts at several major colleges and universities. Also, in a related area, I have extensive expertise and experience in strategic planning. I know that the university has completed its 2011-2015 strategic plan. It's an update of an earlier plan. I applaud everyone for that. Keith, you've done a great job. It's a very good plan. I've reviewed the plan, and there are a number of plan elements where I could make a contribution as a leader for plan implementation in the areas for which I'm responsible. You're hearing some of that, I think, as we go through this, because I focus on some of the areas of that plan. But also a good plan should be reviewed and updated periodically. And I think I would be an effective colleague working with the other team in this ongoing process. Collaborations. I'm very good at building internal and external collaborations. With the institutions I've served, I've been instrumental in fostering positive and productive collaborative relationships and alliances with a broad range of internal and external constituencies. In this regard, I'm good at helping determine the institutional needs and making them a reality through collaboration. Examples internally include an institutional reallocation reorganization process, a transparent and effective budgetary process, the strategic planning. I was also committee chair for VPR search. Externally, I've done things like bring in collaboration with major private companies such as GE Energy for research, have an Economic Development Administration, a federal grant for building a research park master plan. Earlier on, I brokered a new School of Nursing building for the College of Nursing at the University of Colorado. When I was with the coordinating board, I built a boot heel consortium in the very southernmost part of the state, consisting of the trade school, the community college, and a four-year campus there, the regional university. That's still going quite well, although I did that many years ago. And my role as consultant as well is not only called on my expertise in strategic planning, et cetera, but it's required high levels of interaction, coordination, and collaboration with multiple stakeholders. Another area that I bring, I think, a skill set is sustainability. Looking at both fiscal sustainability and environmental sustainability. I know you've done a good job with that here in both cases, but looking at fiscal sustainability, I developed and implemented new or upgraded budgetary processes. They've been both efficient and effective for the areas that report to me and the systems or the institute as a whole. I've been a good steward of resources. I built a multi-million-dollar surplus at DRI, even with the budgetary challenges that Nevada's having. And quite frankly there, I know you've had some cuts, but we would consider a 3.5% cut basically chump change compared to what's happening in Nevada. We're looking at 26% cuts perhaps in fiscal year 13. So in spite of that, I built multi-million-dollar surpluses. And looking at environmental sustainability, that's both a strong personal and professional interest of mine. And I've done things like building a LEED Gold certified building. For those of you who don't know, LEED means Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It's a national standard that you base it on sustainability and energy-friendly buildings on. Gold is the next to the top level. I've installed efficient lighting systems. I'm working with a private firm for the research park to put 2 large wind turbines on the research park that would feed low-cost power through wind generation to both DRI, to Truckee Meadows Community College, our neighbor, and to the research park for clients there. I fostered the use of low maintenance and dry land native landscaping, sometimes called xeriscaping, at both DRI and the Colorado Springs campus. And I was responsible for obtaining a regional grant to purchase a small fleet of natural gas powered buses for the city of Colorado Springs to use to transport students to and from the campus there. So I bring that and a strong interest as well. Research mission. I obviously have a strong background and understanding of the institutional research mission. I've helped build administrative support structures for both pre-award and post-award requirements. At DRI, I've led the development of an alternative costing model for non-federal grants and contracts, which makes us more competitive in those areas. And I've worked with the academic vice presidents or vice chancellors to improve the sponsored projects function at multiple institutions. Then finally, I'd like to focus just on some of what I think I bring in terms of leadership and management style. First of all, I am an effective leader, but I'm also an effective team builder and team member who takes responsibility while utilizing collaborative decision-making processes. By that I mean I encourage multiple viewpoints and gathering as much information as possible when making decisions. But I know where the buck stops for decisions for which I'm responsible. I have no problem with that. But up to that point, I like to hear as many viewpoints and get as much information as possible, particularly for those important decisions that are mission-centric to a campus. I have strong negotiation skills. I think I have well-developed listening skills, and I communicate openly and honestly. But I think I do so without being annoying in that area. I have high integrity and intelligence. I have an entrepreneurial mindset. After talking to the president, he obviously wants to make this campus even more entrepreneurial than it already is. So I think I bring that mindset and experience there. I think and act strategically. It's not enough just to be a planner, but by thinking and acting strategically, it means you see the global pictures. You're able to synthesize diverse elements. I think I do that well. I am focused, yet I do have a good sense of humor. Some say it's a little dry, but people seem to like that. And finally, I've been acknowledged for my ability to bring creative and innovative, yet practical approaches to problem solving for organizations with their problems, challenges, and also the opportunities that might come forward. And I know you have some challenges here, probably many more than I'm going to focus on, but state funding, you're having a 3.5% reduction in funding for 12. You've had some reductions already. Certainly that creates problems with trying to build a university and grow a university. Fully understand that. We've had similar challenges, even maybe greater. That's led, though, to what appears to be an 8.4% tuition and fee hike in FY12. Of course, what that creates are problems for student access, particularly for those students who are less able to afford their education. I will say that's a national trend, putting more of the burden on one's education on the backs of the people of the families, but it's not a trend that leads to good access for anyone. I know you're competing with some of the other regional universities with larger population areas as well. Boise, for example, 4 students. You seem to do a good job, but I'm sure that's a challenge and takes some special effort on your part. Diversity. Looking at your statistics, you seem to have done a pretty good job of recruiting diverse faculty, staff, and students. But I would imagine you have to work harder there because of where you're located and some of the characteristics of the area. You were founded in the 1890s, so you've got aging infrastructure. You've got limited funding, as all states do, but with flat funding, even worse for deferred maintenance, ongoing repairs. And then for the new vice president coming in, I see that you're going to be hiring, or at least looking at the CIO position, making it permanent. So I would bring good skill sets there. I've built a CIO model at DRI. I've done that as a consultant for various universities. I would actually look forward to being involved in that process. So in summary, I think I've got a good skill set for all of you to help the university move forward, not only to deal with the challenge, but take advantage of the opportunities. And again, I'm very interested in this position, and I like what I see. So with that, I'll stop and try to answer any questions you might have.
Cleve, welcome again to campus. I'm Rob Spear, Director of Athletics. Two-part question for you. First part is, what experience have you had working with the Division I intercollegiate athletics program? And the second one, what do you see as the role of a Division I athletics program at a land-grant university?
Well, to be quite candid, I've not worked at an institution that has a Division I program. I'm a sports advocate. I love sports myself. That's one of the attractors here is the athletic program. But I've not worked with Division I programs. I've worked with Division II, Division III. I know that's very different. The focus is different. But I do see some signal strengths of being a Division I athletic program. First of all, particularly as programs get traction, it's a great way to build and cement your alumni base. And people come back for the athletic events, I think, in ways that they don't in Division II and Division III. It's an effective vehicle for national attention, even if you're not going to the top bowl games. You still get national coverage from time to time. I think so. It's a good recruitment tool. I think there are unique challenges, certainly, with any athletic program, Division I maybe more so. My guess is you have some programs that do pretty well, that make money, and others that you have to support that aren't as self-financing, and you have to find creative ways and probably move money around to support those programs from maybe some of your more lucrative programs. But I guess I have a question for you. How do you see, for example, the athletic conference you're in as being a plus? Do you see, I know, for example, University of Nevada, Reno's moved their conference. Have you had any discussions or dialogues about staying in the conference or moving your conference at all?
Well, we are in the Western Athletic Conference, and we plan on being there for quite some time. I think it's important that you understand that University of Idaho is one of the original land-grant institutions. In fact, 51 original land-grant institutions. 49 of them participate in Division I athletics.
Right.
And out of those 49, I believe 45 of them have football programs in the football bowl subdivision. So if we want to participate and represent the University of Idaho on a national scale, I think playing and participating in the football bowl subdivision is where we belong. But at this point in time, we're committed to the Western Athletic Conference and committed to rebuilding that conference. Okay.
Well, again, my doctorate's from the University of Missouri-Columbia, both a land grant and, at least in recent years, an improving fairly good football program and basketball program. I would add, speaking of Division I, that you could thank Nevada for lowering the esteem of your sister institution a little bit in that football game last year. But overall,
it costs us a lot of money. So.
But overall, you know, you're a resource base, you're a recruitment base, and also I think for a land grant institution or any major institution, it's a core part of the mission of the organization, and I think should be supported as such. I know you primarily have to be self-supporting, but if I were VPFA here, I'd see working very closely with you on infrastructure issues, on support for the events and finding things that work well and those things that don't work so well, we work on together.
There are about 2 Division I programs across the country that are self-supporting. Some given years, maybe 5. So
yeah.
I don't think you can anticipate at our level that all institutions that participate are self-supporting. Yeah. So they need student fees, they need help from the institution, they need help from the state, they need all of that collectively. And it's up to this institution to define what role they want athletics to play here on this campus.
I personally see it as playing a very important role and would work with you to help enhance that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hello, and welcome to the University of Idaho campus. My name is Kent Nelson. I'm the general counsel here. You'll see if we tend to bring our own personal issues to our questions with you. And mine relates to the term compliance, which is being used more and more these days, almost as a thing in and of itself. And so I'd like to hear some of your thoughts on what your involvement at your current institution is with respect to compliance, both along the lines of what that means at that institution, and then what you're involved in.
Okay. Well, compliance is a growing issue for every institution, but particularly for a research institution such as ours. We've had to put more resources into compliance because, quite frankly, the penalties have become greater. After 2001, I think the whole landscape changed on national security and compliance issues. For example, we have to fill out forms even when individuals from some countries come now that we didn't have to use. We have to do a screening. We have a database that we have to use. We have to make sure that we're following rules and regulations in ways we haven't had to do before. So we've put additional resources into that. Now, quite frankly, the bulk of the compliance function is in the research VP office in DRI. But I work closely with that person to ensure we have the resources for compliance. And quite frankly, with my expertise, they've called up on me to help them with the databases, with general security issues for compliance. I don't anticipate it going away. I anticipate it continuing to grow. And I anticipate that the penalties that go with it will also continue to grow. And one thing that I would like to see, quite frankly, that we don't have is more of a system-wide compliance view. Right now they're leaving it pretty much campus to campus. And while that's probably a value, given the fact we have so many of our institutions located in the same cities, unlike here because of Reno and Las Vegas, I think some joint system-wide efforts on that could help us as well. So I certainly understand the situation. I know it's a growing issue. I don't have direct authority over the compliance area.
So you talk about sustainment, physical and environmental sustainment. You've also talked about organizational design and restructuring. As you are aware, in this current economy environment, we all have to, including the human capacity, we have to arm, disarm, and rearm in order to keep up with what the environment is telling us. Can you tell me what exactly have you done to develop strategic and human capabilities to meet innovation, as well as developing and meeting the strategic capacity of the university?
Sure. Well, one of the things, I'll start with DRI, and I'll kind of work my way back. One of the things I did there was initiate and lead an organizational reallocation restructuring process, where we actually had faculty, students, staff, and senior administrators all working on teams, where we looked at the 6 key areas across the campus. IT was one, the development office was another, technology transfer was another, and then there were 3 other areas. And basically, we developed a set of reports that included action plans to improve the effectiveness of those operations. 2 areas I mentioned, development, which was more an advancement function, we actually, based on that process, we completely revamped, completely changed the structure of the organization, hired new people, including the VP. Tech transfer is actually a joint program with UNR, but we used that report to leverage major changes, particularly to help our researchers have a marketing function of that. But I've also looked at facilities. One of the other areas in that was facilities. We looked at outsourcing as a possibility there. We determined that actually we were more cost effective and efficient by keeping our current structure than if we'd outsourced. Because what we found was that our people are multitaskers. They have multiple skill sets. You move into contracts, you get it siloed, and it actually costs more to do the kinds of unique things our staff does. So those are some areas. I've restructured units reporting to me at multiple institutions to make them more efficient and effective. Financial services at DRI, facilities at University of Colorado, Colorado Springs, IT at multiple institutions. But when I say restructuring, it wasn't looking to cut or reduce staff. It was looking to utilize those staff more effectively and efficiently. One of the things we've implemented, and I'm sure you do that here, is cross-training, for example, where we try to move people and not have them so siloed in the functions they do, but their ability to work as a team across the various parts of a unit. And I mentioned team building and team collaboration. That's one of the key things I try to do to work with staff as well, to have them see their operations as a team and bringing me feedback, kind of as a continuous quality improvement, bring feedback to me on what they think would be productive changes. Now, you can't always rely on that, but you start with the staff because they're the ones that have to work and work where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. So it's a kind of a combination of looking at it at the 6,000 foot level, looking at it from this level, seeing what seems to be the common interface, and then building changes and building efficiencies around that.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
What types of TQM methods have you used, and why have you used them?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, when you're in the business for a while, when you first start methodologies, you tend to want to, I'm going to stick to a method, or I'm going to go right up the template of what the menu. But I found that it's better to try to make those fit with the culture of the organization you're working in. So when I say methods, I look at what does it basically mean? What does a TQM process mean, for example? Well, TQM process means, number one, you try to assess what's working well, what's not working well, and you try to have input from the people who are closest to the operations. You then develop a set of data and benchmarks that you can then measure the change. And sometimes the benchmarks can be very different from one unit to another. So what I've tried to do is take the basic elements of what a TQM process is in every place I've worked, both as a consultant or in the organizations, then tailor it to what the culture says that works best for us. For example, one of the other things I'm doing now is a 360 evaluation for all the AVPs and the administrative directors. We've never done that at DRI, but that's another feedback tool you bring into the mix. And I'm not using it for evaluation, I'm using it for professional development. Okay, here's the strengths, here's the weaknesses. Now, both for your area and you, now let's talk about how we can help you with development, and how we can help look at moving your plan forward in the area. So that's also an effective tool.
What's been your experience with cascading strategic planning?
Not significant. Mine have been more the SWOT model, but I've also used scenario planning. Those are the two I focus on. But again, one of the key components of any strategic planning function is to plan the plan. And you look at which model fits best with the organization that works. Do they want to do a full-blown plan? They want to focus on key areas that they know are problems. They want to build a new mission and vision, or they just want to focus on specific things. So I try to tailor, again, as a consultant, and I've done a lot of planning as a consultant, probably 20, 30 plans. You try to tailor to the needs of the organization. And on top of that, you make sure that there's buy-in and you have an involved process with unit planning. I know that's how it was done here too. But cascade planning, I'm not specifically worked that much with. Other questions?
We met earlier. Mm-hmm. I'm Mark with Facilities.
Right.
My question is this. You talked about looking for ways to be entrepreneurial, and I completely understand how somebody from Nevada, where you're talking 30-some % budget cuts, can look at our 3% and think that that's small, and comparatively it is small. But it still drives us to do kind of two things. Mm-hmm. We need to look at opportunities other opportunities if state funding declines.
Mhm.
And that's kind of along the line of being entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
And then it also drives us to prioritize what we're going to do. And so I guess I'd like you to speak a little bit on what you would, how you would approach both of those, both the opportunity side and the prioritizing side.
Okay. Well, first of all, I hope I didn't make it sound like I thought your cuts weren't problematic. Any cut right now when you're trying to grow is a major problem. And I know you've had some significant cuts already, so I fully understand that. Just right now for me, a 3.5 looks better than the 26.5% cut for some reason.
Absolutely.
But you know, in terms of the challenges, again, I think you come back to some of the, you look at what's working, what's not working. And if you can leverage private resources or public-private partnerships to help improve functions, well, you do so. More than likely, though, for the, you know, what I call the nuts and bolts operations of an organization, those are limited. Now, I have been able, for example, to leverage federal grants for the research park, and I now have a $2.8 million grant for the infrastructure. So federal grants is one opportunity, but then that's kind of drying up right now, too. But in terms of like buildings, you know, new infrastructure, certainly public-private partnerships are a way where you work and try to do something that both enhances the operation and may also help bring, say, business support in. You know, there are now villages that are kind of a combination of public-private dollars that seem to be working fairly well. That's actually our model for the research park. For opportunities, I think some of it's being out in the community and finding out and hearing and listening what those opportunities might be. You know, and then keeping a key eye back, thinking strategically on, well, that opportunity there, maybe we may leverage that to benefit us. And so some of it's just hearing, listening, and then when you get an opportunity, explore that with perhaps an individual or group, bringing in a team, probably just initially maybe a smaller group, but if it looks like it has possibilities, bringing in a team and looking for what the possibilities are, but being very cognizant also of what those challenges might be if you go that direction. Also, you can look at best practices. You can look for what's working out in the world for entrepreneurial opportunities and see if there's any opportunities in the state or the region to mirror that. Okay, hi.
Welcome. My name is Kathy Villegas, and I work in Human Resources. And can you tell us what question we didn't ask you that you thought we would ask you?
Okay, well that's a good question of itself. I think I tried to cover and be proactive on what I thought might be the questions actually in my presentation. You know, you might want to dig a little deeper, for example, in when I say I have a collaborative management style, what that means. That could be one question. You might want to, if you have any more specific questions, you might have me go a little deeper in some of my experience in certain areas. I'd be happy to answer that. But beyond that, I try to be somewhat proactive and think what your issues and questions might be. So.
Hello, John Feeney, Human Resources. I was just wondering if you could speak on your community involvement and how you help gain and build relationships between your institution and the community that's housed it. Okay. Well, you know, the word is often called town-gown relationships, the relationships between the community and the institution. Actually, in a college town, in a town of this size, I think you've got better opportunities to do that in some major ways than I would, for example, in Reno. Although we have outreach, we have like open houses and significant outreach, and each of us try to be involved in the community in major ways individually. And then we look again for partnerships. I work with the Economic Development Authority, Western Nevada, for example, EDON it's called. My research park board, again, consists of lay people from the public, bank presidents, people high in the construction trades, et cetera, so we try to interface that way. But overall,
I think it's critical you maintain good town-gown relationships with the community you're in. And you've been here a long time, and I think somebody said over 70% of the employment base is the institution. Is that accurate? So obviously you have both a responsibility because of you're the 600-pound gorilla in the town, and some leverage and some opportunities there that you might not have if you were like a college of this size in a population of 200,000, 300,000, or even more. And quite frankly, University of Nevada, Las Vegas doesn't necessarily have the greatest town-gown relationships because Las Vegas is not a college-oriented town. It's casinos. When they seem to have their best relationship back, I'm sorry the gentleman left, back to when they had a strong basketball program back in the days of the 90s when they were national champions. That actually helped bring the whole community together and helped build stronger town-gown relationships. But as the quality of the athletic program declined, so did that relationship. It was kind of fair weather. So I hope that answered your questions. If not, keep probing. I'll do my best.
All right. Well, that's all the questions you have. Thank you very much for coming. And if you'd like to take a few minutes on your way out to visit, feel free.
I'll be happy to stay here for a while and chat with you individually if you'd like.